In the case of somebody getting cut, think back to our child care unit. The first thing you do if someone is bleeding is apply pressure with a clean cloth by pressing directly on the wound. You want to stop the bleeding before you worry about anything else. Sometimes, if it's a really, really bad cut, you might need to apply pressure to the wound and the nearest pressure point. If that ever happens in our food side, make sure you get me. If any cuts happen, come get me. But the number one goal is to stop the bleeding, and then after that, you'll clean and bandage the wound carefully. To avoid getting burns, when you open the oven, stand to the side of it instead of holding your face right over the door, because then the hot air will not hit you in the face. It will just come up in front of you. Make sure you use hot pads for handling hot pans, etc. This includes things coming out of the microwave. They can be hot enough that you should use the hot pads. If you are lifting the lid of a pot or a pan that's been boiling and has steam inside, lift it kind of like a shield so that the steam goes away from you and your face. So you, instead of just having it open on both sides, kind of tilt this edge up so the steam all comes out over here and none of it comes over by your arm. And don't hold your face over top of it, steam rises. If you're trying to get a pan out of the oven, instead of reaching all the way into the oven where your arms have to avoid all four sides of the oven, grab the rack with the hot pads, of course, and pull it out until you can reach your baking sheet or casserole dish without getting too close to the roof or sides of the oven. Additionally, on top of the stove, please turn the handles inside or to the back of the stove so, one, little children don't come along and grab it, but two, so that nobody else comes by and bumps it. In our food slabs, we have a lot of people in a small space. We need to make sure that no accidents happen. Reminder of first aid for burns. For first and second degree burns, run under cold water for 10 minutes, and then you can wrap in a clean bandage later. For third or fourth degree burns, that's when you should get medical attention ASAP. And of course, if you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. Do not run. Do not give the fire extra oxygen with which to burn. How to avoid falls. Use a stepping stool to reach high things instead of climbing on random objects. Use an actual designated stepping stool. Clean spills as soon as they happen. If a spill happens that you could slip on, clean it up as soon as it spills. Especially in our food slabs at school, please. If you spill something, there's 35 other people in the room that haven't seen that it spilled, so they could walk along and slip in it without even knowing it was there. If someone falls, help them up. Unless they've hit their head or lost feeling in their limbs, then don't move them and get me immediately so that we can assess the situation and make sure they haven't caused nerve damage. To help prevent fires. Number one, keep flammable objects away from direct heat. For example, never put paper towels on top of the range. The range is the stovetop. And also watch the stove carefully. Never ever leave it unattended, even for short periods of time. If it is a grease fire, as in this is oil or fat burns a lot quicker and stronger than most things. You need to be extra careful with a grease fire versus just something else burning. First thing, if you can safely do it, put a lid on the pan. That will cut off the oxygen supply to the fire. Or you can pour some baking soda on it. Baking soda will chemically react with the oil, cutting off, once again, the fire from its fuel source. Or you can use a fire extinguisher. Just make sure the fire extinguisher is a grease-based fire extinguisher. Do not ever use water, sugar, or flour on a grease fire. One, water and oil don't mix, right? If you pour water on a fire, that oil is going to go somewhere else very quickly. Sugar might look like baking powder. Flour might look like baking powder. They're both white powder substances, but they do not chemically react. Sugar, in fact, burns quite well. It will burn wonderfully in a grease fire. And flour burns pretty well too, but it's also a little bit more fluffy and has a chance to fluff through the air. So it could catch fire, and then you might have fire fluffs floating through the room as well. So never ever use water, sugar, or flour. You can use baking soda or a grease fire extinguisher, or if you can, put a lid to cut off the oxygen supply. Please watch this awesome fire video that shows what happens in these scenarios and how to prevent it and take care of it.